I'm adding miniature siding to my 1/12 scale model Sears Kit House diorama, and I'm going to give you 3 tips and tricks you can use for your miniature builds and your 1/12 scale models, so stick around. This is the Kelby General Store. It first opened on August 14, 1906, around the same era as my Sears Kit House miniature model. The wood siding used on this building was very common in the early 1900s. It's called Dutch lap, and it's a tongue and groove style siding. Tongue and groove helps seal the building and keep the water out. Sometimes shakes or shingles were also used as siding. The style of siding I'm going to be using is called clapboard. In the next video, I'm going to have a bit more time and I'm going to show you around this general store. This wall is 4.5 inches wide. That's about 4.5 feet if it were the real size house. I've set up a piece of wood to be used as a straight edge fastened by 2 C-clamps. The distance between the straight edge and the edge of the wall is just slightly less than 4.5 inches. This will give me a bit of extra room for the 2 walls to fit together at a 90-degree angle. Measure at the top of the wall and the bottom of the wall. Both distances should be exact. I'm measuring the popsicle sticks. I'm going to trim them so that they fit across the wall perfectly. I'm using my bandsaw to trim the ends. You can clean up any loose wood fibers by using a belt sander, or even trim off a bit of wood if necessary, if the wood is a bit oversized. Use a gentle touch when using the belt sander with popsicle sticks. It doesn't take a whole lot of pressure. You can quickly take off too much wood if you're not careful. Using wood glue, place the first board at the bottom of the wall, making sure that this board is flush with the bottom of the wall. Use a paper towel to remove any excess glue. So here's your tips and tricks number 1. You're going to overlap the second board slightly. Use a pencil to draw a line where the top of the second board will be. Next, measure the distance from the top of the first board to the line. I'm using a caliper, but you can use a ruler. It'll work just fine. Measure this distance from the bottom of the top popsicle stick to the distance that you measured on the wall. In this case, the distance is about 1/2 inch or 0.5 inches. Draw some points on the popsicle stick at this exact distance. Using a straight edge, connect these points. It should form a straight line. Draw a line with your pencil. Now, using your utility knife, carefully cut along this line. You'll need to score the popsicle stick several times to make sure you get a nice clean cut. Write on this popsicle stick that it is the stencil, the jig, the measuring stick, whatever you want to call it. And that's your first tip. Now when you glue the second board, line up the top of the board with the pencil line you drew. Now use your jig to draw the line where the top of the third board will be, and so on until you have glued all the siding on the wall, working from the bottom to the top. This will keep all your boards nice and straight as you're putting the siding on the walls of the model dollhouse. This work is pretty time consuming and it needs to be done accurately to make the model look good. Sometimes when I cut the shorter pieces of wood, I'll use shears rather than the saw, as it's quicker and easier. I find it easier to use these heavy-duty clippers rather than a utility knife. When you get to a window, use a pencil to mark where the edges of the window are. I'm going to use my bandsaw to cut the 2 short little cuts into the popsicle stick, as this is easier than using a utility knife. Once I have these notches cut out, I can use my utility knife to cut out the excess wood so that the window will fit in the opening. Always make sure that you retract the blade of your utility knife. The blades are really sharp and you don't want to cut yourself on it accidentally. I'm using this piece of siding to go on the top of the window. I put some glue on the beams, and the opening should be the perfect size to fit the window. Using my template, I draw another line and place another board on top of that board as well. And there you have it, with the window in place and the siding on the wall. And it looks great. Now I'm going to start the other wall assembly. Again, start by placing a strip of wood along the bottom, flush to the bottom of the floor assembly. This wall assembly is a bit more complex as it contains both a door and a window. I'll have to allow a cutout for both of these openings. Wipe off any excess glue. You'll want to use the same template to keep the walls and everything uniform, so don't lose it. You need to keep all your siding evenly spaced on all the walls. I draw a line so I know where the second piece of siding is going to be placed. Put on some glue and place the second row of siding on the wall. So here's the second tip. Make sure that the ends of the siding are glued and touching part of the beam at either end. You don't want any boards to be loose. If your wall is just a little bit out of square, this will ensure that the boards are sitting flat on the wall assembly. This is why we use the vertical beams, or mini wall studs. And here's your third tip. I staggered the length of the boards from the end to give you a brick-like appearance. You don't want all the seams to be on top of one another in a straight row. This won't look good and it's not authentic. I have a bit more wood to remove from the siding. First, I'm going to be placing the pre-measured siding boards but not gluing them down yet. I'm going to be using some painter's tape to hold them in place. I'm turning the whole wall assembly over and I'm going to be able to take a pencil and draw a line showing which part of the wood I need to remove. I turn the wall assembly back over and remove the painter's tape. And when I remove the board, you can see the pencil line showing me which part of the board I need to cut out in order to create the perfect size window opening. Again, I use the bandsaw to cut the distance I need, and then I'm going to be using my utility knife to cut the other piece out. Be careful you don't cut yourself. Utility knives are pretty sharp. It's a good idea to use a metal straight edge rather than plastic or wood. This way the blade of your utility knife won't damage your straight edge. Here you can see I've cut out the pieces of wood for my window opening, and the window will fit perfectly. Hey, if you're enjoying this video, please hit the like button. As a new YouTuber, it really makes my day knowing that people actually like my videos. And if you want to see more of my tips and tricks, well then hit the subscribe button. If you build miniature dioramas or 1/12 scale models of houses or doll houses, make sure you hit the subscribe button, because in a future video, when I'm building another section of the wall, I'm going to show you another trick that you can use in your future builds. And there you have it. The siding's on the two walls adjacent to the front porch. The 1/12 scale model of my Sears kit house diorama is starting to take shape. Check out this video if you want to see how I cut all the miniature beams, or if you want to see how I cut all the round edges off all these popsicle sticks to make the siding. Check out the video link I put in the description. We'll see you in the next video.